All right. Good morning, guys. I want to talk a little bit about Trump again. I mean, I can go back talk about Biden. I can go back talk about Obama. I can go back talk about Bush. I can go back talk about Clinton. But they're gone. But as far as and look, I've had a lot of issues with all the other presidents I just mentioned, and Biden to me was just a bumbling idiot, put there um, to infuriate the Trump base, the MAGA base. And that way, when Trump did win, uh, which everybody knew he was going to, but that way, when Trump did win, that Trump supporters would feel victorious, vindicated, and would get behind whatever Trump wanted to do with his many of his unlawful actions, all the way down to the tariffs. I mean, a lot of the tariffs can be ruled inconstitutional. And speaking of the tariffs, so all the projections concerning the tariffs, Trump keeps bragging about, all the money that he is bringing in via the tariffs. But, that money he is bringing in is all the extra cost that is incurred by us. So basically, it's a form of a tax, an indirect tax, really, to where importers in this country, whether they be food service or factories or whatever, they are forced to pay additional costs due to the tariffs. And of course, business models would state that they have to pass the buck, and that would be to the consumer, which is you and I. And even in construction, I'm a contractor. I mean, I can't eat the rise in cost. And in fact, if I get a bid today, it used to be, that bid was good for, 60 days, 30 days. But now I got to take it by a week basis, just because of the volatility of rising prices. But anyhow, so the projection on the tariffs is $1.2 trillion in the year of 2025. Now that's globally. And of that number, the bulk of it is paid by the importer of the tariffs. And then the consumer is, like 900 billion or less than 900 billion, but or no, I think it's around 900 billion. But anyhow, that we'd have to pay. So, it's, in my opinion, it's a very troublesome and failed policy. Now, on another note, I'm just really in shock with the Trump supporters, considering many of Trump's alliances, and people that he is either pardoning or making allegiances with. These are not really good people at all, and should be concerning to everyone. Trump ran on making America great again, to which now he's backing away from that term, and he's going with T-Publican or whatever the new term. He's trying to get rid of the MAGA term, and he's starting a new term, T-Publican or T-Republican or whatever the hell he calls it. But he ran on ending wars and turning this economy around overnight, etc. And now, we're talking about going to war with Venezuela. and he is using the lie that you know, all of these drugs are coming in to the United States from Venezuela. Now, this is really easy to fact check, guys. Venezuela is not a major player in drugs to this country whatsoever. And I don't have to go out here and point out all these facts. I'm giving you a statement. You can research it yourself, or otherwise this video is going to be forever long. If you care, you can research it yourself if you care, or unless you're just, you know, a Trump supporter because you're a Trump supporter and you really don't care and you're just going to support him anyhow, regardless of what he does. But anyhow, you know, back to Venezuela. So, you know, Trump, you know, is talking about invading Venezuela. He's actually closed the air space over Venezuela, which is also unlawful, but he does it anyhow. So why does he want to go to war with Venezuela? Well, he says that's because of the drugs, and I don't know what the drugs have to do with the president of Venezuela, Maduro. Trump in his first term tried to overthrow Maduro by inserting another puppet president that was very friendly to Israel. And so the other president, Maduro, served alongside each other. Of course, they were enemies, you know, in a de facto type of government. And so basically, Trump is using the drug lie for regime change in Venezuela to get somebody in there that supports Israel. And that's a fact. Because if it's about drugs, why would President Trump be pardoning a convicted drug trafficker and weapons trafficker that was also the former Honduran president, and was convicted and serving a 45-year life sentence for bringing in over 400 tons of cocaine that we know about. Could be worse than that. But, you know, I believe his name is Juan Orlando Hernandez, had strong diplomatic relations, business relations, and military relations with Israel. They were very good friends. He had close ties with Netanyahu in Israel. And so Trump's going to pardon this guy. And he was selling drugs, guys. So if it was about drugs, why would Trump pardon this guy serving a 45-year sentence? And I think you need to ask yourself those questions. Unless, of course, you don't care. You just like Trump because he's Trump. You know, you bitch about everything the Democrats did, Biden did, and this, that, and the other. But then when Trump does something, it's like, it's like a giant double standard. You know, it's like, we just like Trump because he's Trump. Even though he does things far worse than what the Democrats did, and we beat the Democrats up left and right, we're just going to give Trump a pass because he's Trump. He's got some secret plan with all of his actions that at the end of the day is going to work out. And then, and so as far as Trump's relations with certain people, then we can move past, you know, Venezuela and the convicted drug dealer, former president of Honduras. So we'll go to the spy, Israeli spy that was high up in our Navy, who was stealing secrets, military secrets, and bringing them back to Israel, in which Israel is turning around and selling those secrets to Russia and China. This guy got released from prison. Espionage, folks. Okay? Stealing military secrets. And so Trump's number one, or not number one, she's like 4 or 5, but Miriam Adelson, okay, whom Trump just spoke highly of. He's dear friends with the Adelson family. And Miriam just flew her private jet, picked the spy up that was convicted of spying and stealing military secrets from the United States, picked him up and flew him to Israel. And then Mike Huckabee, who is Trump's ambassador to Israel, was there to meet him. I mean, this is a spy who stole military secrets for Israel so Israel could turn around and sell those secrets to Russia and China. And then yet Trump's great dear friend, and in the top 4 or 5 of his contributors to his party or to his campaigns, flew him to Israel after he was released from prison. And Mike Huckabee, Trump's ambassador to Israel, was there to greet him. Very questionable ties. And it's definitely not America first. And then you got Trump, who is making allegiances. Mohammed Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, whom Trump in the past has said terrible things about, as far as their human rights violations. And our own intelligence, our own military intelligence concluded that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia murdered a journalist by the name of Jamal Khashoggi, who was a very, very popular journalist in Saudi Arabia, but then had to move because they were threatening him and wanted him dead. And so Jamal Khashoggi was going to get married, and he had to go to the embassy in Turkey. And when he was in that embassy in Turkey, a couple of the Crown Prince's henchmen that worked directly under him in his security council killed him, butchered him, dismembered him on the Crown Prince's orders. Our own intelligence, our own military intelligence, as well as the CIA, put the blame on the Crown Prince. And now Trump's in the White House with the Crown Prince. And he's building golf courses and hotels and other Trump businesses in Saudi Arabia, enriching himself and his family, and palling up with a known murderer. This guy ordered the murder and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. And there's audio tapes, and allegedly there's videotapes of this happening. And so moving on, Syria. So everyone's bombed Syria. You know, I don't know that Biden did, but he had some pretty strained relations with Syria because Assad, Bashar, I believe is his name, former president of Syria, once again was not favorable with Israel. And so they launched all kinds of allegations against him that he was using biological weapons against his own people and blah, blah, blah. That's what they do when they want somebody gone. They start saying they're doing all these horrible things to their own people, and then they feel like that gives them a right to enter another country that doesn't affect us and create or start a regime change. And that's what happened in Syria. It took a little bit longer in Syria, but they finally got it. And who did they handpick for the new leader of Syria? Former Al-Qaeda leader who was wanted by our DOJ, Department of Justice, for being a terrorist. A terrorist, literally. For being a terrorist. And now he is the leader of Syria, and Trump gives him a warm welcome into the White House. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Of course, we all know about his former ties with Jeffrey Epstein and 15 years, very long-standing, close relationship, to which now Trump supporters will say, well, Trump didn't like him no more because he found out what he was all about, and he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. No, you guys, that's not what happened. What happened was Jeffrey Epstein took him to this mansion, giant real estate property, and I think it was $40-some million property, 44 million, 42 million, or whatever. But Epstein, knowing that Trump knows real estate pretty well, brought Trump into there to look this place over and what have you. And long story short, Trump bought the property out from underneath of Epstein, which who gives a fuck, right? But he bought the property out from underneath of Epstein, and which put a strain on the relationship. And it was about that time that they pretty much quit hanging out. So it has nothing to do with Epstein Island, Pedo Island, and all that. It was all because of greed, and so they had a falling out there. And then you got, Trump, who the MAGA movement, with the vaccines and this, that, and the other, and all the health protocols, and releasing mosquitoes into our atmosphere, or all over the place, genetically altered mosquitoes, the culprit being Bill Gates. And so MAGA, they can't stand Bill Gates, and, he's the bad guy, and MAGA is staunchly against Bill Gates, but then turn around and Bill Gates is in the White House with Trump, teaming up with Trump for an AI health initiative. So they're partnering up. Of course, he had Zuckerberg there, and had some other tech giants there. Moving towards this AI assisted and controlled everything, which is MAGA, as far as I know, are completely against all of these initiatives and programs. And yet, he's making allegiances with all of these enemies of MAGA and former terrorists and former spies, and it's mind-blowing how you guys don't see this, or have no concern, and then Trump turns on a lot of his greatest supporters, that backed him, for his presidential run. Marjorie Taylor Greene, he's just saying vicious things about her. And she was his biggest supporter, stood behind him thick and thin. And, and then when she started having some concerns, with all these foreign entanglements and all this money, and then bombing Iran, who poses no threat to us, but bombing them for Israel, all of a sudden she's now the enemy. Rand Paul, same thing, the conservative. Doesn't like these foreign entanglements. He hasn't really spoke much on the Epstein files, but he has touched on it. Now, Marjorie Greene has spoke a lot about the Epstein files. But, Rand Paul, Trump's just calling him names, and ripping him to shreds because Rand doesn't like the foreign entanglements and all this money going to other people's wars. And, Trump campaigned on, stopping all of that. And then so when he doesn't stop it and someone calls him out on it, now he's the enemy. And he just starts saying terrible things about him. Thomas Massey, another conservative, that voted for Trump. Same thing, Epstein files, foreign entanglements, and, bombing other countries for Israeli interests, So he's got to be the bad guy, Now Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Judge Napolitano and Gerald Celente. And you can go on down the line of all of these MAGA influencers that are departing from Trump. And of course, Trump just calls them names. So there's so many other weird relationships that Trump has with people. Very questionable people, like his pastor that that just got convicted of sexual misconduct with a underage boy. They kind of swept that under the rug real fast. The guy that wrote or created the Trump derangement syndrome just got busted for soliciting an undercover agent posing as a minor. So that guy just got busted. There's a few other Republicans that stood behind Trump that are getting busted for sexual crimes against minors. And so I think the illusion is over, and I hope you guys can see this. I hope you're beginning to see that we're on our own in this country, and that Trump isn't playing 5D chess, and QAnon isn't some secret patriotic intelligence that is decoding all of these 5D chess moves that Trump is playing. I hope everybody's starting to see that, whether Republican, Democrat, or the whole of government in general is a burden. It's a form of enslavement to us. And, as in 1776, when we, finally had enough of the British rule, the taxation, the abuse from the Brits, they ruled over us with an iron hand rather. And, and so our list of grievances got fairly large, and we can no longer sustain that heavy hand and oppression of government, and so we decided to break away from that type of governing, and I think that's where we are again today. The system is so corrupt, you guys. Democrat and Republican. I still see it out there. You guys are hating the Democrats so terribly, but yet you won't acknowledge just how terrible Trump is, and in many situations he's far worse. I mean, he is truly ushering in a new world deep surveillance government to where America isn't first, but Israel is. And so, I just want everybody to see that we are truly on our own, folks. And so what do you do? I guess what do you do? You quit supporting the candidates altogether, for one. You quit paying your federal taxes. Just start with the little things. Quit bashing one side or the other. Quit picking a side. I bash both sides. I bash everybody because there's nothing in government that is good or wholesome or for us. No tax on tips. Oh my God. Woo, major achievement, huh? But that's about it. And that's even questionable. That's not written in stone. And then look, you got silver prices breaking records, you got gold breaking records, and those are indicators of our dollar and how weak our dollar is. And you know, the economy, and we got factories closing down, we got farmers filing bankruptcy left and right, 2025. I mean, there's a lot of terrible things happening, folks, and yet you support this buffoon, belligerent, name-calling, just downright hateful person. I think he's mentally ill. I think he's losing his damn mind. And I'll be surprised, and I've been saying it for months, but I'll be surprised if he finishes out his term. You know, whether they stage a death or have him killed when things get so bad, or they oust him. I don't know, but I truly, once again, do not believe that he will serve out his term. But we got major problems in government, folks. You know, you look at these Epstein files, and they're so slow to release them, if they ever do release them. And if they release them, they're going to be so redacted. The only words you're going to be able to read is the, a, are, there. Democrat name, us. Night. You know, Democrat name, you know, but... And so Mike Johnson came out and said the Epstein files shouldn't be released because it's a matter of national security. Why is it a matter of national security? Is it going to implicate the entire whole of the government and billionaire donors to the government? And, you know, is it just going to tear down the establishment? Why is it a matter of national security? So... oh, so much going on, y'all. But I guess, you know, through it all, you know, I get accused of being a Democrat, and people, well, why don't you say something about Biden? And Jesus, goodness, God, Lord, God. Why don't you just pay attention to what the president's doing? All right? And defend that. Defend what he's doing instead of accusing me of picking on poor little rich Trump, right? Oh. It's crazy out there, folks, but yeah, I just want people to see government, you know. I mean, if there was any other president doing what Trump's doing, I'd be saying the same exact thing. It's not because it's Trump. Trump just happens to be the president doing what Trump's doing, you know. He's sending in the military, getting us all used to a military presence in the federalization of local peace or policing forces under the guise of keeping us safe, right? Of keeping us safe and just getting us accustomed to having this presence. He's challenging free speech, you know, one of the mainstays of our rights. And, you know, as far as bringing in the military to keep us safe and clean up the garbage in the towns, and, well, there's a lot of Republican cities and states that are far worse off than the ones he's targeting with his enemies. But it goes along with the narrative, hate the Democrats, love me. Hate the Democrats, love me. You know, it's all psychological operations, folks. But, you know, he's brought in Palantir, you know. Taking all our information, all of our data. And we've always known they've done it before, but they're really stepping it up with Palantir and the military presence and the federalization of the local peace forces and or police forces rather. And that it should be very concerning to you all. And I know, well, if I don't do anything wrong, look, that's not it. You know, we have a right to be free in our homes, in our privacy, in our possessions. And, I mean, we're rapidly headed to a new world fascist dictatorship. And you guys can call me crazy all you want, but you tell me how we're not. So this video has been long enough, but I just wish you would consider what Trump's doing and take a good hard look at it. Quit making excuses for him all the time. So Till next time.